In this movie, Mimomitt will show you how to build a do-it-yourself radio-controlled model bus. Out of the white bus on the right, we have made the red bus on the left. For that, we need, in addition to our model bus, such a starter kit from SolExpert and a Jumper Pro radio control. We disassemble our initial model. It is a scale 1/87 model of an Ebusco 2.2 electric bus. The model comes from HollandOto. We have chosen this model because we wanted to motorize a modern electric bus. But in addition, it turned out to be practical that the model has a solid base plate, including these wide sidewalls. This provides a stable and self-supporting basis for all future installations, on which the body can be placed back at the end and removed again if necessary. The windows are separated from the seats. Initially, we planned to reinstall some of the seats in the end, but all space has been occupied by the technical equipment. However, it is hardly noticeable through the tinted windows. The windows are, like the white base plate, quite stable and self-supporting. This turned out to be practical during the final assembly and in the subsequent operation. Here you can see the front axle, which is already included pre-assembled in the starter kit. It has to be placed in the base plate. For that we have to make space. Wheels will need enough room for steering. Fix the axle, we built this small bridge out of plastic scraps and drilled a hole in it. Our small U-shaped bridge is now glued into the base plate from above. We used a conventional polystyrene glue. So, fit it in properly and finally put it in the right place. If you want to do this with super glue, you will probably have to work a little faster. Here you can see the pre-assembled drive unit consisting of the engine, gearbox and the already assembled rear axle. This should be installed in approximately this position. The gearbox needs some space underneath. Therefore, the area marked in black is supposed to be sawn out. And again, it turns out to be good that the base plate is stable and self-supporting. It forgives us that we have to remove parts of the floor. It will be better to finish this with a carpet knife. The axle should run freely. Therefore, we are sawing a small channel in which the axle will be placed. Finally, it looks like this. Now we can attach the rear wheels. Start with the wheel on one side. Otherwise, we couldn't install the whole unit anymore. By the way, we have widened the wheel cases a little bit with a carpet knife. The tires should not grind the chassis. To install the motor unit, we have chosen a construction with two L-shaped angles from plastic waste parts. We stick them to the floor and fix the gearbox on it. Here you can see the first L-shaped part. We stick it with a transparent end to the floor, namely directly in front of the gearbox. The opposite part will be placed behind the gearbox. Well, once again aligning. The small L-shaped part should be placed exactly in front of the future place of the gearbox. Here we have already glued the second L-shaped part. Between the two parts we now place the motor unit. Because of the great plain surface, we decided to choose conventional all-purpose glue. By the way, the rear L part has exactly the height that is needed to support the transverse motor. The two wooden sheets help us to align the axle in the exact way. This prevents the axle from running tilted. Let's go on with the front part. Again we prepared a bracket from plastic waste parts. And we dug a hole in the floor. Because here we will install the steering servo. At the back it rests on our holder, and at the front it rests on our already known U-shaped bridge. From below we will install the steering lever later. Again we use all-purpose glue. The blue servo box can rest quite stable on its holders. Therefore, a small fixation is sufficient. In addition to our base kit, we bought a lighting chip with two prefabricated LED holders. This means that the bus will later have switchable headlights and indicators at the front. Therefore, we have to dig holes in the four round headlights. The bus has already 4 holes. You can see through them. Let's start the soldering work. Solder is attached to some prepared pieces of wire. Here you can see the green lighting chip with the already attached LED holders and a piece of copper circuit board. This allows the onboard voltage to be distributed to the components, as the soldering pads of the consumers are sometimes quite small. Things went well here. This is where the unit is to be installed. The piece of copper circuit board is placed on our front axle holder with double-sided adhesive tape. Next, the lighting unit is also glued in. It should sit as close as possible to the headlights. The cables should not be pinched by the door glass later. And the LED holders should sit as precisely as possible behind the drilled headlight holes. Next, we glue in the LiPo battery. It is also attached with adhesive tape to the steering servo. The next functional group is installed. We have another piece of copper circuit board. The black one is the charging socket and here is the silver on-off switch. Again, we glue the copper board on the floor. We made two openings in the floor at the rear of the bus for the charging socket and the switch. Here we see the completely wired bus with switch silver, charging socket black, motor and gearbox brass, a piece of circuit board copper, the speed controller green chip, then further forward the battery orange, steering servo blue, the receiver glued to it green board, and at the very front the already familiar unit with copper board piece, light module and LEDs. The first test drives can take place. Beforehand we connected the radio remote control, that means the transmitter, and the receiver in the vehicle for the first time. The light check was also successful. Our bus is now being painted red. One coat of paint is sufficient on the white surface. Final assembly. The windows are clipped in. Since they do not need to be glued, they can be easily removed later for repair and maintenance purposes. At the front we glued a driver figure to the glass. Finally, the roof, which is also painted, is clipped on. How the bus drives in operation can be seen in our film Farewell to Diesel.